I don't want to question the data so much as I want to question the methodologies, right? I think there is a point to be made that government agencies typically are behind the times and behind the curve when it comes to the adaptation of new technologies. And there is technology involved in surveying and sampling, right? If people are using cell phones and if their means of communication are via text on a cell phone, well, you need to adopt as a government agency. And there is this belief that one of the reasons why response rates have been coming down so much in both the establishment survey of the BLS and the household survey of the BLS is that the government's just not reaching people.
So the Fed's behind the curve then?
Well, that's a separate issue. You asked about the BLS.
Right,
I said the BLS is behind the curve. Now the Fed, of course, is trapped in the same cage that we are. They're forced to rely on the data they have, not the data that they want to have or think they may have. And of course, let's also keep in mind, and to be fair here, the establishment survey, the non-farm payroll number comes out very early in the data cycle. And so, of course, the earlier it comes out, the presumption is that the worse it's going to be and it's subject to higher revisions. But at the same time, I will tell you that the absolute value of revisions has not gone up over time by the same token. So there are two ways to look at this. And I don't think that Chris Waller, if that's who you're alluding to at the Fed as the dissenting view here, had a particular insight about where the data is going to be revised to. I think he had an important insight about where the data is going. And that's importantly different. But yes, he was lucky, and with the benefit of hindsight, it looks like he had a lot of foresight.
Well, how do you play that, I guess, in the markets? My good friend Mike Froley at J.P. Morgan, he thinks this steepens the curve here, right? Like the fact that you can't really get your arms around the data, in the U.S. here is going to actually steepen the curve. It's going to basically cause yields to stay sticky higher for longer. And so, talk to us about that. Do you really believe that this curve can steepen from current levels?
Well, I wrote recently that I do believe that some curves can steepen, not just the nominal Treasury bond and swap curve, but potentially also the inflation break-even curve. The inflation break-evens have their own curve. I do believe that if the statistical agencies of the government are politicized, people will not trust the data. And if they are politicized, they're probably going to be politicized in a particular direction, right? If we're talking about inflation, inflation may be reported lower to try to influence what the Fed is going to do. If you believe that, then anyone, of course, who owns an asset that's linked to inflation is going to be shortchanged, including potentially holders of Treasury inflation-protected securities. So there is an investment implication here, absolutely.
Quickly, do you have a conviction on U.S. dollar? Is there a Macquarie dollar call?
Yes, there is. Of course, there's a Macquarie dollar call. I mean, I'm paid to do something after all.
What's a conviction on it?
I won't call it a conviction. I'll call it a view, Tom. Conviction sounds too boating to me. The view is that the dollar will continue to depreciate. The view is that foreigners are overly invested in U.S. assets, in stocks, in private equity, in venture capital, in the technology complex. And there has been this imbalance going on for several years. If you look at the dollar, its real value is very expensive. That's been going on for 13 years. With the rotation that's going to come, the dollar should come off, but so will lower interest rates.